Most people spend their entire lives trying to increase their salary, a higher paying job, a promotion, maybe switching companies every few years. But here's a quiet question almost nobody asks. What happens when your investments start earning more than your salary? Not in theory, not in some millionaire fantasy, but in a very ordinary middle-class life. Because when that moment arrives, everything about how you see money begins to change. And strangely, most people aren't prepared for it. Let's start with a familiar situation. Imagine a 32-year-old professional in the United States or Western Europe. Maybe they work in marketing, software support, accounting, or healthcare administration. Their gross salary might be around $75,000 a year. Sounds comfortable on paper. But after taxes, healthcare deductions, and retirement contributions, their take-home pay might be closer to $4,200 per month. Then real life begins. Rent or mortgage, $1,700. Car payment and insurance, $550. Groceries, $450. Utilities and internet, $250. Student loan payment, $300. Credit card payments and subscriptions, $250. Gas, transportation, and small daily spending, $300. And just like that, most of the salary is gone. Not because the person is irresponsible, because the system quietly encourages this structure. Stable income leads to stable monthly obligations, and stable obligations slowly expand until they match the paycheck. Psychologists call this lifestyle anchoring. Your spending doesn't grow because you want luxury. It grows because your brain adapts to what feels normal. Now, let's introduce a different number, the one that quietly changes everything. Investments. Imagine this same person has been investing for years. Nothing dramatic, just consistent investing into index funds. Maybe $800 a month since their mid-20s. No trading, no speculation, just slow accumulation. After about 10 years, their portfolio might be around $140,000 to $160,000 depending on market conditions. And if the market grows around 7% annually, something interesting happens. That portfolio generates roughly $10,000 to $11,000 per year in growth. That's about $850 per month. Not money withdrawn, just growth. Now, compare that to something important. After tax, their monthly salary might be $4,200, but their investment growth is already producing $850 per month, quietly, without meetings, without performance reviews, without commuting. And most people ignore this moment, because psychologically, salary feels real. Investments feel abstract. Your job sends you a paycheck every 2 weeks. Your investments just move up and down on an app. So the brain assigns more importance to salary, even when the math begins to say otherwise. Now, let's move the timeline forward another 10 years. Our same investor is now 42. They continued investing. Nothing extreme, just steady. The portfolio might now be somewhere around $420,000 to $480,000. At the same 7% average growth, that portfolio now produces around $30,000 to $33,000 per year. That's roughly $2,600 per month in investment growth. Now pause for a second. Their job might still pay around $90,000 to $100,000. After taxes, their take-home might be $5,200, but their investments are now producing half of their salary in annual growth. And this is where the mental shift begins, because suddenly your job is no longer your only engine. You have two economic systems running in parallel. One is powered by time and effort. The other is powered by capital. This is the part many people misunderstand. They assume that once investments grow large enough, life becomes luxurious. But financially intelligent people experience something different. Not excitement, perspective. They stop measuring financial success through salary alone, because salary has a limit. It depends on health, on industry conditions, on employers, on economic cycles. Investments behave differently. They scale quietly. They compound without asking for more hours of your life. And once they become large enough, they start doing something unusual. They begin absorbing financial shocks. Job loss becomes less catastrophic. Career changes become possible. Taking a lower paying but less stressful job becomes realistic. Not because someone is rich, but because capital has started sharing the burden. The hidden mistake most people make is believing financial freedom happens suddenly. They imagine a dramatic moment where work becomes optional overnight. In reality, it happens gradually, and most people cross several invisible milestones without noticing. First milestone: investments cover your monthly groceries. Second milestone: investments cover your rent or mortgage. Third milestone: investments match your salary growth. And eventually, investments begin outpacing your income. At that stage, something subtle happens to your mindset. You stop asking, how can I make more money this year? And start asking, how do I protect the system that's already working? The focus shifts from income expansion to capital preservation and patience. Ironically, this is also when people become less obsessed with money, because their survival is no longer tied to one paycheck. And when survival pressure disappears, financial decisions become calmer, more rational, less emotional. But here's the strange part. Most people never reach this stage, not because they lack intelligence, but because the financial world constantly pulls attention back to salary, promotions, job titles, income comparisons. The conversation is always about how much you earn, rarely about how much your capital earns for you. Yet mathematically, one of those numbers eventually becomes far more important. So the next time you check your salary, also check something else. Not your portfolio balance, but the annual growth your investments are generating. Because one day, quietly and without celebration, that number may begin to rival your paycheck. And when that happens, the way you see work, risk, and time will never look the same again.